Hello and welcome back for week 3 of our AI literacy campaign. My name is Umemba. I am the CEO of Umemba Health, the lead AI consultant and trainer. I'm also an AI literacy and workforce development expert and your AI translator. What does this mean? This means I help you go from complexity to clarity when it comes to artificial intelligence. And I spend all my time reading, researching, and testing AI tools so you don't have to. And I'll break down the good, the great, the bad, and even the scary side of AI so you can make sense of where it fits in your workplace and use it with confidence. And speaking of the scary side of AI, this is the third installment in a 12 video AI literacy series that we are doing here at Umemba Health. Over the past few weeks, we've been talking about what AI is and what it can do. But in this video, I want to unpack what AI can't do well. And the goal of this training, even though it may seem a little scary, is not to make you fear AI. It's really to help you understand it more so you can become a more informed user. So let's jump right into today's content. So again, we're talking about AI limitations. Hopefully by now you have figured out that artificial intelligence is powerful, but it is not magic. It is a tool that is built by humans. It is trained on human data. It is bound by human design. And like all tools, it has limits. When I talk about AI limitations, what I mean is the boundaries of what AI can understand, what it can predict, and what it can create accurately. I'm not talking about what AI can't ever do, but mainly what it can't do well yet or might never do because of how it's built. So here are 3 key points that I want you to understand about AI limitations. One, AI doesn't predict, I'm sorry, it doesn't think. It predicts. So every response, every image, every suggestion comes from patterns in data, not because it comprehends the information or the data. So that means when you have AI write an essay for you or give you an answer, it's not reasoning, it's just guessing what words or action should come next. 2, AI is only as good as the data it's trained on. So if the data is limited or outdated or biased, then AI's output will also reflect those flaws. It's just like the saying says, garbage in, garbage out. And third, AI lacks context and judgment. So it doesn't know when something is insensitive or controversial or inappropriate. That is why human oversight is always needed. Think of AI as a powerful calculator that has learned how to speak. Sure, it can handle numbers at scale, but that doesn't mean it understands the meaning behind the numbers or the words the way that we do. So when you know these limits, you can manage your expectations. You can keep your expectations grounded, and then it makes you or helps you become a more responsible user of AI. So the first limitation we're going to discuss is called a hallucination. And a hallucination is when AI just makes things up. It's false, it's fabricated, and it's actually fairly common. When AI hallucinates, it does produce information that sounds true or sounds likely, but it does do things like invent statistics. I have found that it can misquote sources. I do a lot of work with continuing education and, of course, building trainings and courses. And so when I'm asking it to quote a source or reference a citation, sometimes the dates can be wrong, the information can be wrong. I've seen it describe events that never happened. When I use AI images, I might see 6 fingers on one hand, or I may prompt it for curly hair and get straight hair. So all of those are examples of AI hallucination. So you're probably asking, why does this happen? First, because AI models are generating text, like we've said, by predicting what sounds or what looks right, not because it knows what is right. And even though it can check facts, it doesn't always check facts. Its initial response is just to fill in the blanks. Secondly, when a prompt is vague, remember we talked about prompting in last week's video, so if you haven't watched that, go watch it. But when a prompt is vague, AI can overcompensate by producing something that I call a confident nonsense, right? And if I'm being honest, we probably know or work with someone that's just like this. They don't actually know what they're talking about, but they sure look and sound the part, right? they're confident in their tone, but their facts are all messed up. And that's very similar to how an hallucination is as well. So the key takeaway when we talk about hallucinations, as with all of the limitations of AI, always verify your outputs, especially when you're doing things like research, writing reports, making any kind of decisions. Treat AI like you treat that overly confident coworker of yours. Um, just make sure that you always have a human editor to help maintain or verify the accuracy. Okay, so next is misinformation. Misinformation and AI have a very complicated relationship. And I say that because AI can help identify false information, but it also can spread it faster than nobody's business either. So when I say AI spreads misinformation, what I mean is that it can generate or amplify false or misleading content. And sometimes this is done unintentionally. Often this is done unintentionally. So you've got things like deep fakes, fake news articles, AI generated posts. Sometimes those can blur the line between truth and fabrication. So here are three important realities I want you to be mindful of when it comes to misinformation. AI doesn't know what's true and what isn't. Remember, it doesn't think, it doesn't know um, what's likely, except if it's based on the data that it's been trained on. Two, malicious users can deliberately use AI tools to create false narratives. And we see this every day. I mean, even people in really high positions of power are creating deep fakes and false videos that are AI generated to create a false narrative that they want to be spread all over social media or in the media, period. And third, once misinformation spreads online, you've got these AI powered algorithms that amplify it through engagement driven feeds. So it's like compounds the problem of misinformation. And this is why it's important that you are able to combine AI literacy with critical thinking. Check your sources, verify your facts, use AI responsibly, not as an authority, but as an assistant that requires supervision. Bias. Bias means treating one person or a group more favorably than another, often without realizing it. And it's also when decisions or results lean or skew in one direction instead of being completely fair or balanced. Okay. The thing about bias, it's not always easy to spot, but it is one of the more serious limitations that we face when we use artificial intelligence. Again, AI systems learn from data, and that data reflects the world. That means if historical data contains bias about genders or races or geography or economics or certain communities or of people, then the AI is going to mirror that bias, sometimes even magnify that bias. So, three key ideas that I want you to keep in mind. First, we've already established this, but I'll say it again. Bias enters AI through the data that it's trained on, okay? Second, bias can appear in how it is designed through the information that is shared when it's created and the decisions that are made by its developers. Third, bias shows up in results. How AI treats different users or makes predictions, again, is going back to how it's developed and the data that it's trained on. Here's an example. If you use an AI hiring tool that's been mostly trained on resumes from men that favors male candidates, then it's going to not, or it's going to lean toward being biased to those male candidates over female candidates. Not because it wants to discriminate, right? But because it's learned bias patterns from the data that's been fed into it. So, really, really important that you recognize bias. It's not, I don't want you to reject AI. AI is certainly here to stay and it's not going anywhere, but I want you to be able to ask questions like who built it? What data was it trained on? Who does it impact? Asking these types of questions make sure that the technology is fairer and that it is more ethical. The next limitation is privacy and data concerns. So AI depends on data, and that dependence raises serious privacy questions. Okay. So we've already established that AI systems learn by processing huge amounts of information. But sometimes that information can include things like personal data, names, locations, even behavioral patterns, which is kind of scary to think about, right? And while all of this information helps AI perform better, it also increases the risk of exposure and misuse. So here are three key points that explain why privacy matters when it comes to AI. First, not all data that is used in training AI has been collected with consent. That's first and foremost. Secondly, even when you have anonymized data, it can still sometimes be traced back to the individual. And third, data leaks or breaches, which we know are common all the time, can and do compromise an individual's sensitive information. So when you think about data, think about it as digital DNA. It is unique to each user, and it's also very revealing. And once it is shared, once it's out there in the stratosphere, it's very hard to reel that back in and control how it's used and how it's being shared. Now, we can protect privacy by understanding what data the AI system you're using uses, limiting what is shared, and supporting policies in the workplace that demand transparency and accountability. Environmental concerns, and this is a big one. I get this comment a lot when training and talking to groups about using artificial intelligence. And so what I have to say about this is behind every AI model is a hidden cost, and that hidden cost is energy. We do have AI systems that are running large, powerful computers that consume massive amounts of electricity, and that energy demand contributes to carbon emissions and environmental strain. So I want to break this down for you. First, you have data centers where AI models live and run 24/7 and need to be cooled constantly. Okay, that's one issue and why there's this big hidden cost of energy. Second, you have a training, rather, a large single AI model can use as much energy as hundreds of homes in 1 year. And third, as AI grows, so will the demand for more hardware, more data storage, more electricity, the need for more constant cooling, etc. And so I say all this to say that doesn't mean we should stop using AI, but it does mean we should learn how to use it more wisely. Um, I want to also remind you that anytime there is innovation, it does come with trade-offs. And that trade-off is often the environmental footprint that we leave behind. I am thankful that researchers are already developing more efficient models and greener infrastructure. And I think that recommendations on how to reduce this footprint are going to come out more and more as time goes by. But in the meantime, how can you reduce your AI footprint? Well, I have a couple of suggestions for you. The first is very simple: craft better prompts. So when we talk about generative AI, if you write clearer, more precise prompts, it reduces the iterations needed to get your desired output. So less computation per query means a smaller carbon footprint. And last week we talked about generative AI, what AI can do, and I talked about the prompting framework that we use here at Umemba Health. In a later video, I'm going to be taking a deeper dive into that framework. So if you're interested in learning more, definitely stay tuned for the rest of the AI literacy series. The second way you can reduce your AI footprint is only use AI when necessary. I mean, if you have a simple task, don't forget we used Google way before AI, right? So a standard search engine like Google or Bing, etc., they work just as well as generative AI, and they use a considerable less amount of energy. when you're doing things like creating images. If you don't need to create a custom AI image from scratch, then use a static photo, right? Use those Adobe photos that we've been downloading for years, or go to Google and download an image from there. The reason that I say that is when you're using the custom AI images, that uses far more energy than the static photo does. So little changes like this can go a long way when it comes to reducing your AI footprint, especially if we are doing these things collectively. And the last limitation I'm going to talk about is academic integrity. Now, AI, as we all know, is changing how we learn, how we write, how we create, and that is going to bring new challenges to academic integrity, or should I say, it has brought new challenges to academic integrity. So, tools that generate essays, code, or art, yes, they're helpful for brainstorming and studying, but when they're used to complete assignments dishonestly, they undermine learning and fairness. So here's some issues that I'm seeing when it comes to how AI is influencing how we learn. One, AI is blurring authorship, right? And so a lot of times I'm asking myself, did my student actually write this? Is it their original thought, or did this come from AI? It's okay to use AI as a first draft, but it should not be the first and only draft, right? Another issue that I'm seeing is relying too heavily on AI. I know people that use AI for every single thing, even having conversations to their family members or their spouses. And when you rely that heavily on AI, it really does hinder your critical thinking, your skill development, etc. I personally think that there is going to be, or there will be, a level of knowledge decay if we don't find ways to encourage learners to continuously think for themselves. I'll just leave it at that. And last, I believe that unchecked AI in academia is going to erode student achievement. It just is. I could go on and on about some issues that I'm seeing, and some things that I think, especially being a parent. But for time's sake of this video, if you want to get into a deeper discussion, join me at one of our AI literacy workshops, and we can talk more about academic integrity there. But I say all this to say we're certainly not going to ban AI. We just, again, have to learn how to use it ethically. I know when I use AI to develop courses and training, I'm starting to cite the AI platform as my source now. And so if you are an educator or even a student, I encourage you to embrace AI, certainly use it for outlining and brainstorming and summarizing. I love to explore ideas. I love the learn function on ChatGPT, right? Teach me how to learn this. But the thinking, the synthesis, that all belongs to the human mind. And so we have to be mindful, not only for ourselves, but for the future generation as well, so that we still can encourage that critical thinking. Wow, that's it. We explored 6 major AI limitations, and each one reminded us, hopefully, that technology simply mirrors humanity. It is imperfect. AI is brilliant at processing patterns, but it does not have wisdom like humans. It can assist us, it can inspire us, it even can challenge us, but it cannot replace our creativity, our empathy, or our critical thinking. And I think what I want you to take away from this particular training is the more we understand the limits of AI, the better that we can use it to shape and serve real human needs, which should be the ultimate goal when you're using AI anyway. So whether you're a student, you're a professional, you're just someone that's curious to know more about it, responsible AI use starts with awareness. Keep asking questions, keep thinking critically. Most importantly, stay curious, because AI isn't just about technology. Ultimately, it's about understanding ourselves as well. And with that, I'd like to announce our new skills labs are now open. Join us at Umemba Health for 4 bi-weekly sessions where you learn hands-on practice and guidance with AI tools in real time. Our AI skills labs, we're really excited about these. I'm particularly really excited about these. These are part training, part coaching, part community. It is a true learning by doing experience, not another webinar. And each skills lab is a working session. So if you're interested in learning more and enrolling, we'll share the link with you below this video. And if you want to find out more about our services and how you can learn AI at Umemba Health, visit our website, umembahealth.com. And please continue to follow me for more AI trends, tips, tools, and real-world examples that will keep you informed and future ready. I'll see you in the next video.